Everybody wants to know how you travel in the private. Same way you fly in the private. Without a license. Just remember, whether you're driving or flying, be prepared to look and sound a little ridiculous. All right, now that I got your attention with some nonsense here, we're going to talk about today what not to do, what to consider, and all the things that you need to know about driving. You mean travel, bro? Traveling in the private. Let's get into it. First thing to remember, this is all just a game. The sooner you have an attitude that this is a game, the better off you're gonna be. You might be able to avoid the repo man. You learn how to have a non-combative interaction with a police officer. At the end of this, we're gonna do a simulated stop, what I would do. I haven't had the pleasure of being pulled over with my scenario yet, but we're gonna do and talk about everything that I've done personally and what I apply to my situation, that if you like the idea, you can feel free to do the same. So the first step was to get the passport, right? Do the passport process. Somehow, this guy ended up with 2 passports. My old passport was still good, and they sent it back to me with no hole punches. So I got the new state national passport, I assume, because why would they send me a whole new passport and then a non-hole punched original passport that was used for my ID verification process for the DS11. Did the Copper Moonshine Stills method. I had sent in the affidavit of repudiation ahead of time, and I think that would probably be the recommended strategy for most, especially if you owe back taxes, child support, have warrants, anything risky like that that you already know is keeping you from getting your application accepted. Go ahead and send in that affidavit ahead of time, whether it's a repudiation or just a basic foreign status document. It's an affidavit of truth. Call it whatever you want, and at the end of the day, you probably should get that to the State Department ahead of time before you do your passport application. All right, the idea with this particular form, MCS 150, is I feel the easier and simpler way to just use the paperwork to apply for your DOT private number. This makes sure that you do and answer the questions properly. So I have a couple templates on the website for how I filled this out, so you can take a look at that. But the idea here is to use federal jurisdiction to our advantage. Remember, it's not the feds pulling you over for running red lights and running stop signs and speeding too fast. It's either the state, county, or the city. And so this form allows us to have State Department authentication and State Department confirmation in the computer. So when they take your number and run it in the computer, they actually see that it aligns to a private motor carrier, right? And that's what you are, that's what you're going for, is to have private motor carrier status in the computer when they go back and look it up. So that's the second thing. Got to kill off the license or ID. Got to cancel or surrender down at the DOT. And a good idea might be to keep one on you, keep a physical copy so that it's just easier if you ever need to show it for convenience purposes. But in the computer, you could tell them that you lost it, it was destroyed in a boating accident, whatever, and they will ask you, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? And sure enough, they'll do it, and you'll be deleted out of the computer. So you're now traveling on your passport, and that's the way to do this. Your VINs, you gotta also ideally get those out of the computer and surrender your title, or follow the Brandon Joe method of rescinding the title and registration. Until then, at the very least, I would recommend covering up the VINs. It's your vehicle, it's your vehicle to do how you see fit, and at the very least, you want to cover up the VINs in the front by the window, or anywhere that's easily accessible to an officer that might want to try other methods to look up in the computer. Because remember, the idea is to make it exceedingly difficult for them to bring you into their commerce game in the way that they want to. You're actually controlling the commerce game by having federal jurisdiction. Your DOT number came from the feds, and you're going to hand them some very intimidating paperwork when the window comes down. The first thing is to make sure you have the right plate, right? Don't get one of these plates. This is a sovereign citizen trigger, and you want to avoid all the potential sovereign citizen triggers that you can. They get programming on a regular basis, memos and briefs in the police department and from the captain. Here's what you need to look for, and this is what sovereign citizens say and put on their cars and whatnot. And it's usually has to do with UCC codes and, you know, not for hire, non-commercial. So the more you're flexing these things, the more you're just standing out like a sovereign citizen, which makes it more likely that you're going to get ripped out of the car. So all of these things in the strategy add to having a positive interaction, because at the end of the day, at the end of the night, it's totally up to that officer and his mental state and the attitude that he or she has towards this whole scenario. And so what we're talking about here and what I'm suggesting is a way to have all of those possible variables buttoned up as much as possible so that both of you go home safe. So the plate you want to have is the plate probably from Brandon Joe's recommendation, where I've purchased a couple plates, is platesandgear.com. You can get the Diplomat plate, which I would probably recommend. It adds to the flex and adds to the authenticity of the interaction, especially when you're handing paperwork that feels and smells diplomatic to them. So we'll talk about that. You want to make it nearly impossible for that officer during that stop, however they decide to handle it, make it difficult for them to find you in their system. And that involves either the original license plate or registration somehow. They'll try to connect it. Your name and birthday, obviously, and then the VIN number. If they can see the VIN number in the front window, they're going to probably try to use that to write a ticket or find more information about you. So the paperwork, what paperwork to include in this situation. First one I think is valuable is the fee schedule. The fee schedule is just really part of the secured party creditor process and part of trust documents, essentially. The fee schedule is a great flex because it's admissible in court and has that state seal, and there's some hefty fines in there for potential transgressions. So again, your attitude is non-combative, and this is just a game. And should they choose to violate your rights, roll with it. There's nothing you can do about it, but sit back and say, hey, now I have a great cause of action, right? There's no cause of action, and you weren't technically harmed or damaged, and it's a lot harder to prove harm or damage until there's actually been some transgressions. So if you want to sue somebody and you want to have a cause of action, it's great to have some transgressions proven and on the record. So you're setting yourself up to be protected, even if they were to come down and the boot of the law ends up on your neck. Hey, there's a fee for that. Let's do this, right? And so that's your attitude going into this. Fee schedule includes a terms of engagement. All right, when this was recommended to me by a friend, I saw this, and the moment I saw this, it was love at first sight. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you guys as well, because this is a really powerful and intimidating cover page, right? And it aligns with what Brandon Joe has hammered consistently, is that you got to remind them that you're not a resident of any U.S. state. And because you're not a resident of any U.S. state, it would actually be illegal, unlawful for you to have a driver's license. And so here's my passport, right? You immediately give them an alternative. It's a good idea to at least be prepared to give them something rather than to be combative and resistant. They're just trying to do their job. They want to know that it's safe, and you put yourself in a category of unsafe when you come out. Not that there's anything wrong with withholding your information and not wanting to provide ID, but in the officer's mind, it's one of those immediate triggers that's going to put you in a category of like, okay, this isn't yet a safe interaction for me because I don't know who I'm dealing with, right? And that's just their thought process, and it's something to consider and be aware of. And so stay positive, right? This is non-combative. I'm just trying to show you my diplomatic status and convey that to you in a way that you understand. And I'm not using any sovereign citizen words. I'm not going to use any triggers during this interaction that would potentially get me put in that sovereign citizen category. You need to have the aura and swagger of diplomat, right? And so Brandon Joe has gone into this somewhat in his videos. Once you flex a document like this, right, in the first opener, you're showing them that, hey, I'm authorized for non-commercial travel. It will show that in your computer that my status is active. And here is the copy of what's also recorded at the county level, my fee schedule and a certified legal notice. You're just coming into their commerce game with as much authenticity as you can by having this notice of legal status in terms of engagement. Hey, I'm not a resident of any U.S. state. I can't even provide that for you because it would be unlawful. I can't even have a driver's license. But should you want my ID, maybe take a look at the document here in the fee schedule and see if you still want to ask for my ID. I might just provide the passport ahead of time, knowing that it's the heavy flex of the state national do not detain status. Why not just provide it and put yourself in that category of, hey, I'm here to have a safe interaction with the officer. And so I'd highly recommend a cover page like this. You're not going to get them to sign it, but it comes in with a level of authenticity that's going to probably raise their eyebrows and make it less likely that they're going to want to try to ticket you versus just send you back and then go find somebody that they can ticket. So I also put a stamp, a postage stamp, and cross it out on the fee schedule that I hand them, which would be under this page. So when the window comes down, the documents go out the window right away. They don't even have to ask for anything. Now, you're not required to have it, but what do we do about insurance? It will say in the computer that your DOT number is private and you're not required to have insurance, but some like it and would want to have insurance anyway. And the way I recommend it would just carry a private insurance bond. You can come up with a bond, just like one of the ones you'd submit to court. It acts as a perpetual promise to pay. Given there is no money, you make an instrument, and the insurance companies will know what to do with that bond should you have to provide it for an accident. But just saying, officer, I have a private insurance bond. It's my proof of financial responsibility. It's technically private, and from what I understand, they're not allowed to ask you for it, but for you to be able to say that you have the private insurance bond as proof of financial responsibility, that's often enough to just keep you in the category of like, okay, this is a safe driver, right? And that's what you're always after. All right, the bonus step here ties kind of to the license and VIN situation. You need to take yourself out, either obscure those items and make it impossible for them to find them or identify them, or best case, take yourself out of the system altogether. And Brandon Joe on his site has a pretty good method for rescinding the title, registration, and the power of attorney, and saying all of that happened, my bad, right? And now I'm telling you and instructing you as the trustee of this engagement to cancel all of this and take me out of the situation. So that's the nuts and bolts of his approach there. But the most valuable to many here, as we're kind of wrapping up and tying this off, is the ability to mitigate your repo risk. Many don't know or understand how sophisticated the technology is now to find the collateral. There are license plate scanners everywhere, all the traffic cameras, all the lights, intersections everywhere. And of course, we know our data is being sold off, not just our social media activity and that data, but all driving history and data is sold to the highest bidder as well. And so these brokers, these data brokers, are selling off license plate information. So wherever your license plate has tripped a camera somewhere, they can know and see that immediately, and they treat that as their collateral. So they know what license plate that you were issued when the loan was set up. All of that is in the system. And so the first thing to do is get yourself out of that license plate scanner system, because even if you've got the car hiding at places that you don't think they know, the cameras on the tow truck or cameras nearby will feed that to the tow truck, and all of these trucks are connected, that they'll just find and see and get a ping and say, oh, an asset for collection is just spotted nearby, right? And so it'll show up on their computer what to look for, and oh, I see it right over there, right? And they'll go grab it. That's how they get it. That's how they get you. So you can definitely mitigate the repo risk by jumping on board with a DOT number, and then your number is not getting tied back. That can get scanned all day long, and you're a ghost basically in the system. So this is why they don't care if you got the GPS tracker or not. Go cut it out. They will probably still find you because the sophistication with the license plate scanning technology. They don't even need the GPS tracker. So the MCS 150 is the way to get this started. Go ahead and get your passport as soon as possible. Don't use a plate like this. Get one that says Diplomat with the number, ideally. If you're after the MCO and you already have done some of this, and you're the last piece of the equation is the MCO, you might not know that there's a few ways to go about this. You can make your own MCO if you've done modification, even slight modification to the car. It's technically yours now, and you can make your own new MCO. So check that out. You can get a copy of the MVR if it's paid off and you own the title. You can go to the DMV and get the certified copy of the MVR, the motor vehicle record, and that is enough truth for you to then send certified mail to the manufacturer and say, hey, the DMV destroyed my MCO. They wouldn't give it to me, whatever you want to say, and say, hey, I need a new one from you guys. They just make a new one. They use the MVR as authentication to say, okay, that's actually your asset. We'll go ahead and give you the MCO. And so that's the strategy there. And then the other one is flipping it to a salvage title. It's extremely difficult to get a salvage title back into the system, and so it's actually pretty easy to get a car that's just fine into salvage category. And so Brandon Joe actually recommended that one recently. But these are the things that you need to keep in mind, and if you do find yourself in a position where you got to flex some of this stuff, this is what you're going to want to do.
Hey, good afternoon, officer. Yes, you probably noticed the plate. I'm here on diplomatic purpose. I technically live outside of the United States, so it would be illegal for me to obtain a U.S. driver's license, but Washington, D.C. told me to carry these papers in my car at all times, and if you have any questions, let me know. Excuse me?